Hey guys, it's Kip here from KDC Marketing, and in today's video I want to show you how you can hide or display specific items in Wix CMS inside of Wix Studio. So this is my Wix Studio website here, and this repeater has a data set tied to it, a collection inside of Wix CMS, the content management system. And so these team member images, names, titles, descriptions, and their favorite color are all coming from my CMS dataset. So over here on the left-hand side, this is the CMS icon. And if I go to your collections, I can go into my team members collection, and you can see I have a couple of collections here. So I'm going to go to the team members, and you can see all of this data that you just saw on the Wix Studio website here inside of my collection. So I have the name, I have the title, I have the bio, a profile image, and I'm using one of the newer fields called the color field to do that favorite color. And there's different hex colors I've put in here. So one thing that comes up all the time when people want to learn CMS is how do I show or hide certain items on my website? So over here on the left-hand side, you have this status field that says visible. And if I were to change this field to hide selected items, so this James Allen, if I go back to my site now, he was at the very top. He's no longer there. So all I have to do is turn on my item visibility and I can hide or display different items. Let me go back to this real quick. Okay, so I have my status here is hidden. If I just go back to this and then change the status to show, then he will show again. So the way that you set this up, because I already have this set up on my collection, is you go into the collection settings. And inside of the collection settings, you get the collection name, and you can control the item visibility. So you have to turn this on. It's not turned on by default. You just have to toggle that little switch on. And then you can also set the default status for new items to either visible or hidden. And this is really important if you have a CMS form or something where a new item comes in and you want to review it before you display it on the website. So I usually have this set to hidden, and then I have to turn it on to make sure that it's all ready to go. You also have this permissions and privacy section, which kind of shows you who can view and add and update and delete your content. So I won't go into this very much in this video, but this is another important thing to have set up the correct way. Okay, so let me go back to this and my collection here. And I have my team members, and now you can see James Allen is showing again. And here's all my team members here. So on the other thing I wanted to talk about today is that there are dynamic pages. So this team page is actually just a static page, and I've connected my collection to this static page. So it's not technically a dynamic page. So if I go to my site pages and add new page, you can see that there's dynamic page types. And if I click into this, there's 4 types of dynamic pages inside of Wix Studio. You have a list page, an item page. You can do a blank page where it's tied to your collection, and then you can kind of just design it how you want. And then a manage content page, which allows other people like site members to go in and update their different items inside of your collection. So all these things have a different purpose. Your item page is what displays each of your items on its own page, and that's what I'm going to show you here in a second. And then you have a list page which can list all of your items. So all you have to do is click the page you want, click the drop down, and then you can tie it to one of your collections and it'll populate for you. So I have my team member item page. So this is the page here, and I'm going to preview this. And I'm looking at the Alex Carter page, and this is my little drop down to see what all the pages look like. So if I were to go to my own page, here I am, and here's my picture, my name, my title, and my description. So this is just the template that it created for me. I could go in and change this and design it. But let's just say that I didn't have a description. So let me go back in to edit this website and go edit my collection here. Let's say that this thing in particular this item did not have a description. So I'm going to delete this. And so the description's gone, and we're going to go back to my page and see what happens here. So this is what you're going to get if you delete a section or a field from your collection. You're going to get this, where it's just going to show kind of a placeholder text on the editor side, but then in the real time, it'll just be blank. And then if I go back to my team page, again, it's just blank. So in a way, it's kind of hidden, but it kind of looks bad because you have spacing here and it's just missing. So one thing you can do if this is happening, if you want to hide a certain field, is it doesn't really exist right now to hide that one field for that one person. So I can't do that unless I use custom code. And I actually don't know the custom code to do that, but usually there's a way to do these things through custom code. But one thing that you could do is you could change these pages back to being static pages. So if I go to my main pages here and my team members item, and let's just say it's really important that I have all these pages, but I have a couple of missing fields in my collection. Maybe I don't just have the one missing field here. Maybe 6 of my team members have missing bios and 7 of them have missing colors. So if there's a huge gap in here, then what you can do is you can actually make this page, revert it back to a static page. So let me go to this, and you go to, so you click on the page, the 3 buttons, and then you click on remove connections. And it's going to say when you remove the connections, it'll be static. So I'm going to click remove. And so what happens is it gives me this template that it had, and because there's no connections tied to it anymore, then I have to go in and edit these fields page by page. Now that is a bit of a pain to go in and do instead of having it be dynamic, but the advantage of doing this is if I have all those gaps like I talked about, so many missing fields, then I can go in and delete these different fields that I have for some team members and then only have the ones that I need for the other team members. And so what I would do in this scenario is I'd go in, I'd put in a title here, let's just say my title. I put this in, I put in my name and my title. I put in my image, I put in my bio here, just manually. And then I'd add my image. And let's see if I can do that real quick. Here I am. Okay, so I just recreated this page that was just there. Now these need to go away because I don't have next and previous items. And I might need to change some of the things in here. But now that I have this page, what I can do is I can just duplicate this page. So then I would go in and add my other team members. So I might rename this page on my website to Kip Critchlow. And then I'm going to add my other team member here, James Allen. And I would just go through page by page, and I'd want to make sure I check the SEO settings here because this URL would need to be my name. So this is a bit more manual, but this is the only current workaround that I know besides custom code is to not make your pages dynamic anymore, but to make them static. And it's not the best workaround. You can also use the rich content field sometimes in some cases for some things. That's one of the fields inside of CMS. That can sometimes be a workaround for this kind of thing. So if you go into add fields, there's this rich content field. So the cool thing about this one is it can be different for every team member. So you can add in images and headings and text, and this can vary by team member. But if you do use the rich content field, all of the items have to use the rich content field. You can't just use it for one person. Now that you've added it to your collection, all of them have to use this field. So if it becomes too much of a hassle, if there's so much variance between team members or between whatever your collection is that you can't really do it dynamically, then the next best option is to do it static. And I've had to do that before for different clients that I've worked with. We started out with dynamic pages and it was going to work well, but then there was so much variance and variability between those dynamic pages that we had to move it back to static. And that was the right decision in that case because the pages were so much easier to manage statically than they were dynamically because not every page had the same fields and not every page had the same functionality. So we needed each of those pages that we had created as a collection to be static again. Hopefully that gives you some ideas on ways you can approach CMS and hiding the overall item and showing those. We went over that. We went over hiding the visibility inside of your collection and how to set that up. But also what to do if you have big gaps in your collection and you need a lot of customization between items, then it might just be best to go to static. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next video.